misunderstanding. The sky above the alien world burned with strange colors, deep purple mixing with green light, a place where nothing looked safe. The human explorer walked carefully, his boots sinking into the soft ground. He was alone, his ship damaged behind him, and the only sound was the slow echo of his own breathing through the mask. Then he saw her, an alien girl standing by the edge of a glowing river. Her skin shimmered faintly, like silver under the strange light. Her eyes widened when they met his, and her whole body shook as if the ground itself betrayed her. She did not run, but her hands trembled, clutching something close to her chest. The human raised his hand slowly, trying to show peace. But the girl gasped, her voice breaking with fear. She whispered words he could barely understand, words her people had told her since birth. "Humans eat their mates," she said. Her voice cracked with terror. For a moment the human froze. His mind raced. He had traveled across galaxies, fought storms of radiation, and repaired broken engines in silence. But he had never imagined this, that an entire species might believe love itself was a death sentence. He took one step closer, his hands open, but the alien girl stepped back, her tears glimmering in the strange light. Every breath she took was fast, shallow, desperate. She believed she was standing before a predator who smiled before the kill. The human wanted to calm her. He wanted to say that humans do not eat those they love. He wanted to say, love means kindness, safety, warmth. But words felt useless in that moment. So he only smiled, trying to show comfort. The smile was the final spark of her terror. Her lips trembled and her eyes filled with tears. And when his tongue brushed over his lips, tired and dry from the long journey, she let out a sharp cry. To her, it was the sign she had been taught to fear. The moment before humans devoured their mates, her body shook violently and her knees nearly gave way. She begged softly, words falling like broken glass. "Please, not yet, not like this." Her voice was both pleading and resigned, as if she had expected this fate since the first moment he appeared. The human froze. The air between them grew heavy, and he felt the weight of her fear pressing on his chest. He wanted to reach out, but every move seemed dangerous, every gesture she misread. He felt trapped in silence, trapped in her nightmare. Still, he could not walk away. Something in her tears pulled him closer. Some part of him knew that if he turned his back, the myth would live forever. Her people would always believe humans were monsters, and she, this trembling girl, would carry her fear until the end. The river beside them bubbled strangely, glowing with a dangerous heat. The land here was unstable, sharp rocks shifting under her steps. In her fear, she moved too close to the edge. Her foot slipped, and she cried out as the glowing water hissed. The human reacted instantly. His body moved before his thoughts. He lunged forward, catching her arm with a firm grip, pulling her away from the deadly river. The girl's scream tore through the air, not of pain, but of terror. She thought this was it. She thought he was dragging her to her end. Her tears fell on his hand as she struggled. She tried to pull free, whispering, "Please, I know what comes next." But the human only held her tighter, not to harm her, but to keep her safe. His voice finally broke through, low and steady. "You are safe with me," he said. The girl stopped fighting for a moment. Her breath came in sharp gasps. Her eyes searched his face, confused, torn between the fear of her people's stories and the reality of his gentle grip. He did not bite. He did not harm. He only held her with strength that acted instead of destroyed. But then she saw it again. The dryness on his lips, the flicker of his tongue. To her eyes it was proof. To her heart it was a signal of death. Her tears came stronger, her whisper weaker. "Why do you wait? Why not finish it?" The human's chest ached at her words. He did not understand how anyone could see love as death. He wanted to explain, but he could see she was too broken to believe words. He knew only actions could change her fear, so he loosened his grip gently, showing her that he would not force her. He stepped back slowly, letting her stand free. His eyes stayed locked on hers, steady and calm. For the first time she hesitated, her tears slowing, the silence between them stretched, filled with her trembling breaths and his quiet patience. The river hissed nearby. The alien wind carried strange sounds, but in that small moment, it was only the two of them, and deep inside, she wondered if the stories of her people had lied. The aliens' fear. The night fell quickly on the alien world. The sky turned darker than any human night, stars burning too close and too bright. The girl stood shaking, her silver skin reflecting the starlight. Her eyes never left the human, filled with both terror and curiosity. Her people had always warned her, humans were not like them. Humans wore kindness like a mask, but beneath that mask was hunger. She remembered the whispers of the elders, the tales told to children before sleep. Never trust a human smile, never trust a human touch, for love to them means death. Now one of those creatures stood before her. His hands were strong, but they had not crushed her. His eyes were strange, but they had not pierced her. Still, her body trembled with the memory of every story she had been told. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Why do you not finish it? She asked softly, her lips quivering as though each word was a wound. He human tilted his head, confusion heavy in his face. He could not understand how a single act of kindness was seen as a trap. The air grew colder. The alien girl wrapped her arms around herself, but not for warmth, for protection. The human took a cautious step forward, his voice calm and low. I will not hurt you, he said. His words were simple, but her heart heard danger in every syllable. Her people had told her this too. They said humans spoke soft before the end. They said humans wanted tears, because tears added flavor. She stared at him with wide eyes, trying to see the monster behind the man, but all she found was stillness. Her knees weakened, and she sank slowly to the ground, her body curling as if to protect itself. The human froze, unsure if he should move closer or stay away. He wanted to help, but every gesture seemed to deepen her terror. Suddenly a noise cut through the night, the crack of branches, the hiss of some beast moving in the shadows. Her head snapped up, eyes wild with fear. But this time her fear was not of the human. It was of what lurked around them. The creature came into view, a predator of this world, its body low, its eyes glowing like burning coals. Its mouth opened with a sound like grinding stone. The girl gasped, her fear now torn in two directions. Was the human about to kill her, or was the beast about to devour them both? The human stepped between her and the predator, his body tense, his eyes sharp. His hand reached for the metal shard strapped to his belt. A broken piece of his ship now turned into a blade. The girl's heart raced, watching him stand tall against a monster of her world. The predator lunged, claws tearing at the air. The human swung, his blade catching the beast's hide. The fight was fast and brutal. His arms strained, his body moved with desperation. The girl cried out, expecting him to turn on her at any moment, expecting him to drag her into the chaos. But he never touched her. His every strike, every step was to shield her. The beast snapped, its jaws missing her by inches. And every time it came near, the human was there, pushing it back, taking the danger into his own flesh. At last, with one final thrust, he drove the blade deep. The predator howled, its body falling heavy to the earth. The ground shook, then silence followed. The human stood breathing hard, blood running down his arm. His chest rose and fell, sweat dripping across his face. The girl stared. Her tears fell again. But this time not from the same fear. She whispered to herself, he fights, not for himself, but for me. Her mind struggled. Her people had said humans only protect before they devour. And yet here she was, alive, untouched, still breathing. The human dropped the blade, stepping back from the beast. He turned to her slowly, his eyes gentle despite the fight. His voice was quiet. You are safe now, he said. Her heart twisted painfully. Could safety exist in his hands? Could warmth exist in the one she was told would destroy her? She looked at him, her whole body still trembling, and whispered, Why? Why would you protect me? The human had no answer yet. He only knew that leaving her alone was not something his heart could allow. He stood in silence, his shadow cast long across the ground, and in that silence, a seed of doubt grew inside her, a small thought she tried to push away but could not. What if the stories had been lies, the human's dilemma? The night was heavy with silence, the dead predator's body still smoking where the strange blood hissed. Against the glowing ground, the alien girl sat trembling, her knees pulled close to her chest, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. She looked at the human as though he were two things at once, her protector and her destroyer. The human's arm bled, the cut deep from the beast's claws. He tore a strip of cloth from his uniform and wrapped it tight. His movements were steady, practiced, but his eyes often lifted toward her, searching for any sign she might trust him, but she did not move closer. Every time he looked at her, she flinched as if his gaze could burn. In her heart, she wanted to thank him, but her mind screamed that this was the trick. Her people's warnings echoed louder now. Humans save you only to eat you when your fear is sweetest. The human sighed, his breath fogging in the strange air. He whispered to himself, "How can I make her believe?" His voice was tired, more from her tears than from his wound. He had seen war, he had seen firestorms, but nothing had ever broken him like the sight of her crying. He reached into his pack and pulled out a ration, a small bar of pressed food meant to last days. He broke it in half and held one piece toward her. The smell was strange but warm, a sign of life. He did not move closer, only placed it on the ground between them. His eyes told her it was safe, but the girl shook her head. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Poison before death, I know your ways." She pressed her back harder against the rock behind her, tears rolling down her silver skin. The human felt his chest tighten. He wanted to argue, to shout that she was wrong, but shouting would only prove her fears. Instead, he lowered his head, took a slow bite of the food himself, and then set the rest on the ground where she could see. His every action was patience, though inside he was breaking. Time passed slowly, the alien wind whispering like voices from another world. The girl's hunger betrayed her fear. Her eyes lingered on the food, her hands trembled. Finally, her eyes widened in shock. It was not poison. It was soft, warm, and filled her empty stomach. She chewed slowly, still watching him as if expecting him to strike. But he only sat back, his tired body leaning against a stone, his eyes half closed but still gentle. For the first time she wondered if kindness could be real. Yet the doubt never left. Her heart still whispered, "This is how it begins. This is how he lulls you." The human broke the silence, his voice low. "I saved you because no one deserves to be alone in fear." His words were heavy with truth, but she shook her head. "Humans do not save. They only wait," she whispered, her voice full of pain. The human closed his eyes. The wound on his arm throbbed, his body tired. But more painful than any injury was the wall between them. A wall built of fear, lies, and history he could not see. He felt the weight of a choice pressing on him. If he pushed too hard, she would run. If he stayed silent, she would never understand. His heart ached, caught in this impossible dilemma. He wanted her to see his heart, but hearts were invisible. Then the ground beneath them rumbled faintly. The planet itself groaned like a giant in its sleep. Cracks opened in the earth, glowing lines of molten fire spreading across the ground. The girl gasped, gripping the rock tighter. Her fear returned full force, not of him this time, but of the world crumbling. The human stood, despite his pain, and reached out his hand toward her. "Come with me," he said firmly. "We must move." She stared at his hand as if it were the jaws of a beast. Her lips trembled, her tears falling again. If she took his hand, it could mean life. If she refused, it could mean death. Her heart screamed in fear, but deep inside, another voice whispered, quiet, almost hidden, "What if he truly means to save you?" Her hand hovered in the air, trembling. And in that single moment, the fate of trust balanced on the edge of her choice, breaking walls. The ground shook again, Louder this time, cracks racing across the alien soil like veins of fire. The girl pressed herself against the rock, her silver skin glowing faintly under the strange light. Her eyes were locked on the human's hand, still stretched toward her. He did not move closer. He did not force her. His voice remained calm, though the world beneath them threatened to break apart. "If you stay, the ground will swallow you," he said. His words were sharp, but not cruel. She trembled, torn between two fears. One fear was the earth itself, splitting open and hissing with molten fire. The other was the man before her, the human she had been taught to fear since childhood. Her breath came in shallow bursts, her body refusing to choose. Then the rock under her feet crumbled. A piece of the ledge gave way. She gasped, her body tipping dangerously toward the glowing river below. Her hand shot forward without thought, and in that instant the human caught her. His grip was firm, pulling her away from the edge. She felt the strength in his hand, but also the warmth. It was not the grip of a predator, not the claws of death. It was steady, holding her together when the world tried to tear her apart. She cried out, not from pain, but from the shock of trust forced upon her. Her heart pounded wildly. For a moment she wanted to pull away, but the heat below reminded her, without him, she would already be gone. The human dragged her back to safety, his own body dangerously close to the edge now. The firelight painted his face, his eyes determined. She clung to him despite herself, shaking as the ground split again with a deafening crack. When at last the earth settled, the two of them collapsed onto solid ground. The girl pulled back quickly, her breath still sharp, but the memory of his hand lingered on. Her skin, it haunted her, not with terror, but with something else she could not name. She looked at him, her voice breaking. "Why do you not end it? Why do you save me again?" Her words were desperate, confused, almost angry. She wanted the truth, even if it destroyed her. The human's chest rose and fell. His wound still bled through the cloth. His voice came rough but steady. "Because I do not wish for you to die," he said. "Because life is more precious than you know." She stared at him as if he had spoken in another tongue. Her mind fought the words. They did not match the stories of her people. They did not match the warning whispers that had shaped her every fear. She shook her head violently, whispering, "No. Humans do not value life. They take it." But the memory of his grip said otherwise. The memory of his blade protecting her said otherwise. Her heart ached with the weight of two truths fighting inside her. The human leaned back against a rock, his strength fading, yet his eyes never left hers. He said softly, "You see me as a monster, but if I wished for harm, you would not be here." Her throat tightened. Her tears came again, this time not from terror but from something more confusing, more painful. She whispered, "Then what are you?" The silence between them grew heavy. The river hissed. The stars burned too bright. But in that silence, something shifted. The wall between them cracked, not fully broken, but weakened by his actions. For the first time, she did not look at him only with fear. For the first time, she allowed herself to wonder if her people were wrong, and yet deep inside, a small voice still screamed, "What if this is all the trap before the end?" Her heart was torn in two, and she did not know which side would win. Truth and tears. The night stretched long, the stars heavy above them. The earth no longer shook, but the silence after the chaos felt just as sharp. The girl sat a few steps away from the human, her body trembling, her arms wrapped tight around herself. The human watched her quietly. His wound still bled, his breath uneven, but he did not move closer. He knew every step he took could push her further into fear, yet he also knew silence could never heal the wall between them. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. "You believe I wish to eat you. You believe my care is a trick." He paused, his eyes soft but steady. "But you are wrong." The girl looked up sharply, her tears glimmering in the light of the strange river. Her voice cracked, filled with anger and confusion. "My people never lied. They told me what you are. You save only to enjoy fear. You feed only on those you call mates." Her words cut deep, but the human did not flinch. He leaned his head back against the rock and closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, his voice carried both weariness and strength. If that were true, you would already be gone. I would not bleed to keep you safe. I would not share food. I would not risk my life against the beast. Her chest tightened. Her mind fought his words. Each one clashed with the stories of her people, but each one also matched the actions she had seen with her own eyes. She shook her head, whispering, "I do not understand." The human's throat burned, not from injury but from the weight of what he needed to say. He leaned forward slightly, his voice almost a whisper. "Love for humans is not death. Love is life. Love is the reason we fight storms, the reason we cross stars, the reason we endure pain." The girl's lips parted. Her eyes filled with tears again. "Life," she echoed, the words sounding foreign. "You say love gives life?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. Love means protecting someone even when you are weak. Love means giving when nothing is left. Love means choosing another's safety before your own." His eyes glistened with his own pain. "It does not mean hunger. It does not mean death." Her tears spilled freely. She shook her head, her body rocking back and forth as if she could push away his words. "No, it cannot be. You say these things, but my people showed us bones. They showed us blood. They said it was proof." The human's voice rose, not in anger but in desperate truth. "Then they lied to you. They feared us, so they twisted us into monsters. They feared what they did not understand." His chest heaved, his wound reopened slightly, but his eyes burned with determination. The girl covered her face with her hands. Her sobs filled the air. They were no longer cries of pure terror, but of broken belief. Her world was collapsing, the foundation of every story she had known crumbling beneath her. The human did not touch her. He let her cry. He let her fight with the storm inside her. His silence was not distance, but patience. Finally, she lowered her hands, her eyes red with tears, her voice shaking. "If love is what you say, then why do I still feel fear?" The human's heart clenched. He whispered gently, "Because fear is easy. Fear is given to you. Fear is planted and grows fast. But love is harder. It must be chosen. It must be trusted." Her breath hitched. She stared at him, her lips trembling. Her mind wanted to reject every word, but her heart began to believe. The silence stretched again, heavy and fragile. And then, softly, she asked, "Why risk so much for me?" The human smiled faintly, though pain shadowed his face. "Because no one deserves to live believing love is death." Her tears came again, but they were different now, softer, slower. Her heart was breaking, but in that breaking, something new began to grow. She turned her face away, whispering through her sobs, "If what you say is true, then everything I believed is a lie." The human looked at her, his voice low and certain. "Not a lie, just a prison, and you do not have to stay inside. Her hands shook, her body trembled. She did not answer, but for the first time she did not pull away from him in terror, shattered belief. The alien night grew colder, the wind howling through the broken rocks like whispers of the dead. The girl sat hunched, her tears drying slowly. Her chest still rose and fell with uneven breaths, and her mind was a battlefield of two truths, her people's stories and the human's words. The human leaned weakly against the stone. His wound had worsened, blood seeping through the makeshift bandage. Yet he did not complain. His eyes stayed fixed on the horizon, alert for danger. His silence was not indifference. It was strength. The girl stole glances at him. Every time she looked, her heart twisted. He was hurt because of her. He bled because he had protected her, and yet she still feared him. The guilt burned deeper than her terror. Then the ground trembled again, not from the shifting earth, but from the heavy steps of something approaching. A low rumble echoed through the air, The girl stiffened, her eyes darting into the shadows. From the darkness emerged another predator, larger than the one before, its eyes glowing like fire, its teeth glistening with hunger. The human forced himself to stand, his body swaying, his blade still in his hand, though dull from the last fight. The girl gasped, "No, you cannot fight. You are too weak." But he stepped forward anyway, planting himself between her and the monster. The predator roared. The sound shook the stones. The girl's body froze in terror. She had seen many hunters before, but never had she seen anyone stand against one twice wounded. Her people always ran. They always sacrificed the weak, but the human did not run. His body shook with exhaustion, but his eyes stayed fierce. "Stay behind me," he said. His voice was steady despite the pain. The beast lunged. The human moved too slow this time. The claws struck his shoulder, tearing deep. He stumbled but did not fall. He shouted in pain, yet raised his blade again. The girl cried out. Her body trembled. Her people had told her this was the moment humans revealed their true hunger. They said humans endured suffering only to make the end more terrifying. But here before her eyes, the man bled. The man groaned. The man fought, not to consume her, but to shield her. The predator lunged again, and the human dropped his blade to shove the beast away with his bare hands. His arms shook under the weight. His blood spilled freely. His knees buckled. Still, he pushed back, roaring with every ounce of strength left inside him. The girl's heart broke. This was no mask. This was no ritual of hunger. This was sacrifice. She felt her chest ache so deeply she could barely breathe. Her tears returned, but now they carried something new. Understanding. The human collapsed as the beast struck again. His body hit the ground hard, his blade out of reach. The predator loomed over him, ready to end his life. Without thinking, the girl moved. Her body leapt forward. She grabbed the broken shard of metal lying near the rocks. Her hands shook. Her strength was nothing compared to his. But she drove the shard into the beast's side with all the force her trembling arms could give. The predator howled, twisting away. The girl fell back, gasping. The human used the moment to crawl forward and thrust his blout. Day once more. This time the beast fell, its body crashing against the earth. Silence returned, heavy and sharp. The girl knelt beside the human, her hands pressed against his bleeding wounds. Her tears fell fast. She whispered, "You bleed for me. You fight for me. You give without taking." Her voice cracked. "Everything I was told was wrong." The human looked at her with half-closed eyes, his voice weak. "Now you see." Her sobs grew louder. I see," she cried. "You are not death, you are life." Her hands trembled as she tried to stop the blood. "And I feared you for nothing." The human managed a faint smile despite the pain, his voice barely above a whisper. "Fear was not nothing. Fear is real. But now you know it was never me you needed to fear." Her heart shattered fully. Her people's lies crumbled into dust. She looked at him through her tears, her voice trembling with new strength. "I was wrong. I was blind. But I will not be blind again." The silence that followed was different now, not heavy with mistrust, but heavy with truth, and for the first time she touched his face without shaking. A new beginning. The night was almost silent now, only the soft hiss of the glowing river and the ragged sound of the human's breathing filled the air. The girl knelt beside him, her silver skin streaked with dirt and tears, her hands pressed against his wounds, her heart racing faster than it ever had. The human's eyes fluttered, half-closed from pain, yet when they opened, they still found hers. He smiled faintly, not with hunger, not with cruelty, but with the strange warmth she could no longer deny. She whispered, her voice breaking, "Why would you give everything for me?" Her tears dripped onto his chest. Her hands shook as she tried to stop the bleeding, but her voice trembled with something more than fear now. He answered weakly, "Because life is precious. Because you are precious." His words cut through her soul, soft and fragile, but more powerful than any weapon. The girl sobbed harder. Her whole body shook. She pressed her forehead against his chest, whispering, "All my life, I was told love meant death, and now you show me love means life." The human lifted his hands slowly, with what little strength he had left. His fingers brushed against her face, wiping away her tears. "Do not let their lies chain you anymore," he whispered. "You are free now." Her breath caught. Her chest ached. The fear that had once owned her was gone, shattered like broken glass. In its place grew something new, something terrifying but beautiful. She held his hand against her cheek, closing her eyes. "I am free," she whispered back, her voice cracked but certain. "And I will never see you as death again." The human tried to sit up, and she helped him. Her arms wrapped around him for the first time without trembling. The warmth of his body did not mean danger. It meant safety. It meant truth. She looked into his eyes, her tears still falling, but this time they carried hope. "You shattered everything I believed, and yet I am glad, for what I thought was the end has become the beginning." The human smiled weakly, but it was real. "A beginning," he echoed, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, yet filled with relief. Together they sat under the alien stars, the river glowing softly beside them. The girl leaned against him, her heart no longer chained by lies. For the first time in her life, she did not fear love, and in that silence, she whispered words that had never been spoken on her world. "Love is not death. Love is life." The human closed his eyes, resting in her trust, and in that moment, two worlds, once divided by fear, began to change. The end. Enjoyed the story? Like it and subscribe for more.